Mayor Hartsfield envisioned Atlanta as the entertainment capital of the South. So when DJ pioneer Jack Gibson threw the biggest urban radio music convention in the country, Atlanta was a perfect host.
Without beating around the bush, we're glad that you're hanging out with the sugar man, Jack the Rapper. Ow!
Gospel, funk, R&B, jazz. Family Affair was home to everyone in black music. Then hip-hop burst onto the scene. Sponsors warned old mellow yellow rappers would ruin the party with their drama, but he invited them anyway, embracing black cultural freedom in all its forms. Like the Chalks, hip-hop dominated the event, and in honor of its fast-talking founder, the streets rechristened that shit Jack the Rapper.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Lucas with Big Gold Bell Media, as I have the amazing opportunity here to interview and talk to the family of one of the pioneers of black radio, black music for a lot of people in this country. And he's highlighted perfectly on episode 3 of BMF this season, Family Affair. I'm here with the family of Jack the Rapper. How you all doing this afternoon?
Fantastic, man. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great.
Could you all introduce yourself so our audience can know exactly who you are?
I'm
we'll start
Jill.
with the matriarch mother.
There you go.
Jill Gibson Bell. I am the daughter of Jack the Rapper.
And I'm Louis Rip Bell, the oldest grandson of Jack the Rapper.
And I'm Einn Little Jack the Rapper Gibson, the youngest grandson of Jack the Rapper.
That is amazing. So even before we get into Jack, I gotta say, Louis, to be on here with you, I'm calling it head pioneer of what I know growing up as the Miami sound of music. And what you did, and based off of, I hear about your years at the convention and what you learned, and you happen to base it off of 2 of the pinnacle acts for hip hop for the Southern region in the early 90s.
Yeah, man.
How is it like being someone who is so important to the culture that you don't even voice it that much? That's more amazing to me than anything else.
Oh man, I appreciate that, and appreciate that love and respect, big time. But you know, growing up watching my grandfather, right, going to the conventions, sitting in a room where he had nothing but probably 1,000 vinyl, and just listening to record after record, kind of seeps into your system. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
gets into your DNA. And so I was, very blessed and fortunate to have an opportunity, and we took it. And as you would say, or somebody would say, the rest was history. But no, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because we did it out of little Orlando, Florida, literally out of my grandfather's office, out of Jack the Rapper's office. So he let me borrow a room the size of a closet, and he said, "Go for it," you know. And so he was instrumental in helping us, obviously.
Yeah, and to this day, there's not a black cookout that exists the Tootsie Roll does not play yet. Not a single one.
That's funny. It's so funny. I got a notice email from TikTok, right? Because the Tootsie Roll started getting viral. People were doing the dance again, and so I got a little notice from TikTok about publishers. Like, oh, okay, here we go.
that is amazing. This many years later, I was
actually
maybe 11. Yeah, I was 11 when the song came out.
No kidding. No kidding.
Oh, God.
So that is amazing to me.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Now let's get into this amazing man. I got so excited this episode when I realized they were going to highlight this event. And I love the way they did, and I'm going to call it the duality of the event, of having a character like Meech and then having a character like his father, but we see both of them being highly impacted by Jack in different generations at that. Like, so it's not a situation where he just was hip hop music. He was black music before hip hop came out, and then happened to fully embrace hip hop culture. So, Joe, I'm going to ask you, how was it like growing up in the atmosphere with someone that was so beloved for just doing what he loved to do, or someone who stuck out to so many people when all he did was play the music he wanted to play and stood up for the people that he felt needed a voice.
I'm not gonna go first. I'm gonna let my youngest nephew go first, since he's in the closer to the hip hop age.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about this Einn because he's been going crazy on Facebook promoting this episode and talking about it, everything humanly possible. He highlighted it to me before I even knew the episode was coming up.
Einn?
It was a thing. First, I want to say thank you for having us on here. What was it like growing up? So you're not that. Me and you around that age, you were only a few years younger than I was during that time. I was, those were like my teenage years. I started when I was about 5 years old, all the way up into my teenage years. So it was like, it's like, okay, as a kid, I always say it like this. It's like the coolest episode of Rap City you will ever watch. The coolest episode of MTV you ever watch. It was just cool. Get to know the stars, get to know them as people instead of just people you see on the screen. So that I really enjoyed
that. That's you know, because I grew up in Atlanta, and you know, so rap music was that was me, right? And this, you're talking about the early '80s and middle '80s, and to watch how rap evolved through the rapper, right? I remember MC Hammer coming, you know, literally like felt like he drove a station wagon to Jack the Rapper and had 12-inch vinyl, and he was kind of hawking it in the lobby. You know what I mean? And nobody was giving him the time of day. Or Tommy Silverman from Tommy Boy Records. I remember him walking around with a satchel full of white vinyl, and he was playing a record called Planet Rock, you know, which we were at that time killing in the skating rinks, right? So we were in Atlanta, we were already on Planet Rock in the skating rink. So to be at Jack the Rapper and watch, you know, it go from almost like peddling it in the lobby to this explosion of what became the bedrock of Black music for many years, for many labels, you know, was an interesting evolution. And I'm glad how Jasmine, he was very creative. My hats off to Jasmine and his crew and his team that wrote the story.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to cram a lot of history inside 10 minutes, you know. And he did a phenomenal job, I believe, capturing the tension, as you mentioned, that was taking place, and how he also gave a nod of respect and honor to Jack the Rapper and what the convention meant, even to rap music.
Yes. I mean, we're talking about someone who went from Motown to rap music.
Right.
Like that unto itself. Those are two pivotal moments in Black music.
Very big.
And to be a part of both is something that's not spoken about enough.
Yeah. And he gave I don't want to galvanize the time there, but he gave a platform. We called it Rapping in the AM.
Yep.
You know, and he met that with resistance from major labels. Because you remember back in the day, they used to think rap was a fad.
Yes.
You know, and you know, being the advocate that he was for Black music, for all things Black, as he would say, stay Black till we get back. He made sure they were represented and had a voice at the table, which at that time was unheard of. It really was.
It's true. Well, I guess early. I remember Daddy obviously beginning as a disc jockey, and they called him Jockey Jack. And he did that for many years. And then I guess he kind of said, okay, there's something else I want to do. And that's when he went over to Motown. And then he left there and he went to Stax. And then he said, still want to do something else. He came down to here, Orlando, to Disney World. And that still wasn't enough. He said, I got to go back to what I love and my passion. And that's for the disc jockey, because that's where he began in 1942. And I respect him for that. And I still remember him coming down to he and my mom they were driving down for Christmas with my family to see us. And Dad said, I'm gonna write a tip sheet. That's what he called it. And I'm gonna make it yellow, And Mom said, do it. And then he said, but I don't know the name. Okay. And Mama says, you talk a lot, and you write a lot. So, what would you think that represents? To rap. Rapping means to write and to talk. And that was the perfect name for him. So that began. And then the convention began in 1977 in Atlanta, Georgia at Colony Square. And broke loose after that. And we stayed there 15 years. And it was absolutely the best thing, I think, anyone in our industry, Black radio and music, because he knew what the industry needed and who he should pay homage. And that's the disc jockey who played the music. And that's his love. So that's who he honored. And the record companies at that time had Black divisions like Capitol, Warner Brothers, so forth. And so they came out, and it was the best thing at that time. And that's where we are now.
That was good
and
stuff.
I just, he's obviously he's my, as they say, your daddy's your first love. Yeah. And I was very proud to be involved from the very beginning. And then he called it family fair and wondered, all our family worked there. We did. His New York, Cincinnati, I think where they came from, but his brother, his family, that's all we had working for us. We had nothing else but family. So that's what he wanted. But he also included the music world as family.
Now, who approached you all when BMF decided in season 3, we want to highlight this event that was known to everyone? And did they take any input from the family? Like, okay, how would you like to showcase this event on the show? Because I know for myself especially, this led to me hoping like we get a documentary spent off about this more, maybe a little mini series about his life, because he's such an interesting man. So who approached you besides possibly Jasmine about, hey, I want to do this episode and I want to highlight this great man's body of work?
Einn,
tell me how you first reached you.
Einn.
That was Jasmine. Jasmine hit me directly. He hit me directly on social media. I guess that Meech, from what I was told, he got to the part where they wanted to tell a story about how Meech was inspired to get into the music industry, and he talked about Jack the Rapper. So on my Instagram, I always go by Little Jack the Rapper. So he found me on there, and he said, "Hey, my name is Jasmine. I'm with BMF team," and explained the story, and that's how the whole thing started.
Wow.
That was one year. And he met him like in January of 2023. And then
it was
we all like talked.
It was January.
Yep.
We did have input.
And Jasmine was, being around the entertainment industry as long as we have, and he was so professional, man. He really wanted to know the story as opposed to just in the event. You know what I mean? And so he took his time to understand the story as opposed to tell us about the event or that day or that weekend, right? And that meant the world to us, right? That meant the world to us because we understood, Jack the Rapper's influence. And we want the story to be told, and we're working on that. But, that story had to be told. And he took care to understand not just the event. And this is what I really want to, and I thank him. I can't thank him enough. But he wanted to know the story, and he wanted to know the story and the nuances, and he took time through a lot of Zoom calls to hear us talk, hours and hours about the event and interview, people about it. So he did a great job, really did.
We're very,
I want to,
Einn, are you going to talk? You going to talk? You got something to say? I mean,
I wanted to add something. I kind of want to do that real quick, if I may. You talked about the scene with Meech and his father, and you asked us about when they were talking to us about how we felt about the convention and how it really went into detail. In that scene, if you really look at it, Meech says, he talks about how he always wanted to go to the convention, and Meech says, look around, you see the vibe has changed. That came from, to me, it felt like when we were having talks, we were talking about how the different eras of the convention, how certain people that went before felt about it, and then when the hip hop generation came in, how it changed it. That little scene right there, if you really pay attention, if you know the story about my grandfather in the convention, that little scene right there kind of puts a little spotlight on what we were talking about. I think they kind of, that little scene right there, that little dialogue right there kind of sums up what we were saying in a really, really small, and I really like that.
And I tell you another thing, man, they did, I've now watched the episode a couple times, right? Their attention to detail, or the attempt to detail, define, tell us the clothes they were wearing, tell us the record company, what was the color of your bag, what was the color of your lanyard for the Jack the Rapper bag. I mean, they went to that degree of detail, right? And so many people wouldn't do that. They could blow by and make it anything they want. But they're like, what was the lanyard? Well, it was a Tommy Boy lanyard that was yellow. And they were like, all right, we got it. You know, we showed them the actual badge. They recreated it. We showed them the badge in 1993. They redid it, you know? And the shirts, they remade them. And that's how much detail they put into the production of Jack the Rapper. Or at least that episode.
It was, I have to admit, I was a little worried because this had never happened before. And I know the story of BMF, you know, and I said, oh, Daddy, I like to say, just, we're going to get but I couldn't have asked for a better company, 50 Cent and his company and BMF for saying we want something that's original and it's real. It's not a fake conference. You know, that was such an honor that, and yes, we were in Atlanta where Meech went to, because they could have gone, you know, to Chicago or something, but that meant more in the world to our family. And we're very pleased. Like I said, we worked on it for ever since they recorded this a year ago in March. Matter of fact, probably right these 2 days in Atlanta. And it was just, I was marveled at what they were doing. And like my son said, the extent that they went to was fabulous. The bags, everything, to make sure it was right, you know, and that says who they are. Okay, and I'm glad we're a part of them.
And I'm hoping moving forward, again, we get something else about this great man, because it's too much to talk about. It's too much to cram into a 10-minute episode. They did an amazing job, but his story is something that you can build an entire series around, because you don't get a story of a man who's lived so many different eras of music, impacted so many lives, and feel like you're just leaving something out. One of the stories that I even researched before talking to you all about, and I'd heard it in passing and wanted to really look it up to make sure, was the story about Jackie Wilson about him putting together an event to make sure that after he found out that he was sharing a grave with his mom, that he said, no, this is not, we should not have this great man in this predicament. And for someone to actually do that for one of the greatest soul singers in history, and for that man not to be talked about more is criminal. But I'm happy that possibly this episode of BMF will get the next generation to ask more questions about this event, ask more questions about this man. And it could possibly lead to the newer generation being like, hey, you know, this cool guy who I found out about called Jack the Rapper and everything that he did. I mean, we're at the point now with kids where, as Lewis said earlier, with Tootsie Roll and TikTok, of kids discovering things all over again. Everything is new to them. So hopefully this episode will lead them discovering Jack more.
I appreciate that. That's good, man. Thank you.
Yeah, we do. It's good discovery. They need to realize, you know, they're on, like, the jocks now are on my daddy's shoulder from being a disc jockey, and the kids on the shoulders of a Jackie Wilson, you know, or a Marvin Gaye, you know, those. So yes, we take our history sometime. We as Blacks take our history like, okay, you know, no, nothing. But no. We got to show them this means the world to us, just like whatever else, the Rolling Stones or someone, right? Well, we hope so. And we definitely appreciate BMF for calling out to us. My heart goes out. It really does.
Any final words of your thoughts about this episode and just about Jack's legacy for the new generation?
Well, like you said, we're in the process of trying to get it out, okay? And hopefully this and Europe and other people start talking about that. You realize it was 30 years ago in 1994 was the last one. So this is 30 years. So yes, a lot of generations have moved on and said, oh, I don't want to know about that. You'd be surprised. So I guess the last thing is that we want, you know, we always give our flowers when they're gone. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, we'll do that this time too. But that's okay. Because I promised him we were going to get him his just due. And I've had a lot of comments of this. They're saying it's about time. It's about time. Because of what he has done. And hopefully we will, as a family, will continue that legacy. We have to, because we have grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and we want them. You know what I'm saying? It's very important. I love families about family, and that's who we are.
Yep, and I think they did a phenomenal job. The whole production team at BMF of flowing that episode. Like I said, I've watched it several times. They did a great job writing it, telling the story, building up the tension of Jack the Rapper, which is it's true, right? That year, that time, that collision of forces, you could feel the tension that they tried to create through the episode. Their attention to detail was good. I mean, people will go back and forth on different things. That's always with anything that's creative, but I think it was a great job on what they did, and you know, we are happy to be able to tell a part of that story, and the tension, because there's one part of it I think that is really interesting about Black music is that we've always led the way, right? Black music has always led the way, generation to generation to generation. And for us to live on the tsunami that became what we call hip hop, right? It became the economic backbone of so many labels. And let's be honest, the entertainment industry in the 90s, if there wasn't rap, would not have survived, right?
Exactly.
So that forced meeting and that thing happening at Jack the Rapper, that jambalaya or gumbo of talent, man, it was electric. It was dynamic. It was tension. It was chaos, and yet it was beautiful at the same time. And so, and I believe they did their best in the time that they had to tell part of that story. So very grateful to them and look forward to more.
That is awesome. Einn, any final thoughts on it?
Yeah, I had a wonderful experience. I really liked how they took the time. Like my cousin, I love the attention to detail. I can't thank Jasmine enough. I really can't. And I hope for the younger generation that it really does get them to go back and research the history. There's a lot more to this. There's a lot more meat on the bone. And it's just we haven't even scratched the surface. And I want the younger generation to be able to go back and see what happened before. You know what I mean? And not forget where you come from. You can't go forward if you don't know where you've been. So I really appreciate the overall experience, and I'm over here about everything.
And I need to make one shout out right quick, and we can go.
Yes, ma'am.
I have to say thank you to Heather and to Shooter. They were just lovely to us. That's the executive producer, and I think the other one was head of the production of the series. They were terrific. I mean, there wasn't anybody that I would not want to work with again. Truly, they were awesome. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you. And thank you for this interview.
Thank you
for helping us get the word out, man. We really appreciate you. Thank you for what you do in the world of music and entertainment. And so thank you for taking time to interview us today. We really appreciate that.
We certainly do. Thank you.
Oh, that's never a problem. This is one of my favorite interviews. I'm not the member of our team that does interviews. This was the one I said, oh, I have to do this interview. I have family from Savannah, Georgia. So I knew about this event growing up, and they used to talk about it all the time. And I said, and I mentioned to them, like, well, I'm be talking to Jack's family after the episode. And it was like, oh my God, I can't believe. Oh, you got to ask him this. You got to ask him this. So this was a pleasure to talk to you all. And again, I need our audience, just go back a little bit. Doesn't take much.
Yeah.
You have this big device in front of you that looks up everything for you in an instant.
Yeah.
Look up this man's life and sit back and be amazed. It is one of the most powerful stories in Black music that unfortunately has gone unheard of for too long. But now we are at the time and day where tune in to this great man, learn his story, learn from his story, and hopefully we get to push this out to the world so everyone is talking about Jack the Rapper.
Oh,
again, thank you all for sitting down with me this afternoon to talk about this. This has been another Big Gold Belt interview session. Peace, people.
Oh.
Peace. Thank you, sir.
Peace.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Ridiculous.